wraparound thingy. Oh, there's the wraparound thingy. A little chilly out there. Okay, so I've got news. Had a great, followed my intuition to, I thought I had till next Friday, this coming Friday, to until my next appointment with the oncologist to determine what my treatment options would be. But I put in a request that if something came up before Friday for them to call me. So I drove up to Monterey Bay. I left here on Saturday afternoon and thinking I'd have until next Friday. And I spent the night on the highway near Paso Robles, and made it to the sites on Monterey Bay around noon. And I pull into the parking lot at Reservation Road, and they have a windsock there, and I look at the windsock, and the windsock says the wind is coming from the north. So I'm like, cool, I've got all week, right? I'll just chill. And it took me about 20 minutes to find a parking space, maybe a half an hour actually. And by the time I finally found a parking spot, I looked at the windsock and it came on. It was coming on right at me, right at the beach. And I looked down the beach towards the Lake Court launch site, which is probably about a mile away. And there were 5 paragliders already up. So I just drove down there and hiked up to the top, and sure enough, it was right on. It was coming straight on the beach, and I had an epic flight, and I was way high, and I was so excited. I was way down the beach, like literally a couple of miles down the beach, and all of a sudden the wind died. And I went down on the beach, and I had to hike all the way back to my car with the pack, and the slope of it was quite the ordeal. But I felt great because at least I got a wonderful, magnificent flight, and I posted the most salient points of it on probably about 10 minutes of the flight, the takeoff. Anyway, I don't think I got the landing. No, I didn't get the landing. But I posted the video last night on YouTube, and I posted a 1-minute thing on TikTok and on here in my feed of that first flight. And I actually composed a piece of music to go with the video and last night, called Breakfast, and so that's happening. That happened. I posted that, and I went to bed, and okay, so after I get back to my car, I got back to the car, and I'm beat, I'm really bushed, and so I ate something and I drank something, and I had to actually charge the GoPro to get a look at the media of what I shot. So I hooked it up and started charging it and everything, and eventually I was going to meet my sister. Chris came down from she was on her way down from Pacifica with her new dog and Jasper, and her new replacement car from when the tree fell on her car while she was recovering from COVID. So I haven't seen her since like probably November, before her ex-husband died, and then she caught COVID at the funeral, and so it's been an interesting couple of months for her. But anyway, so I called her, and she was on, because I forgot my phone. I left my phone in the car during this whole thing. I could have called her sooner, but anyway, she was on her way down, and we were going to meet at Reservation Road. So I get in the driver's seat, and I started up, and I start driving out, pulling out of the parking, and I'm almost to the freeway, and I look in the rearview mirror, and everybody's up in the air again. All the gliders are up, So I turned around at the school, went back, parked, grabbed my gear, hiked up to the top of the dune, and sure enough, man, I mean, it was probably blowing at least 13 to 15, and but everybody was up. I mean, there were probably, somebody said they counted like 15 gliders up at one point. But the good thing about the Lake Court site is there's so much space. I mean, there's just miles of coastline, there's plenty of room for everybody. So, and there were a couple of folks from San Diego there too, some folks that I'd seen down in San Diego last weekend at Torrey Pines. So anyway, I finally got up, and it just plucked me right up, and I was at the highest person. It just plucked me. I must have been between 400 and 500 feet up in the air from the beach, and without very little input from me, it was going. It was just basically flying itself, pretty much. It was magnificent. It was the golden hour, just like it is right now. That golden light, and on Monterey Bay, and I was just, just feeling blessed. And I have to say that, I did think about, all the stuff that I've been wading through the past month or so, a couple of months actually. This lymph node has started showing signs of swelling beginning of January. So I knew for a couple of weeks there that something wasn't right. I was hoping it was just an infection, but we got the confirmation last Friday, after all the tests, that the PET scan and the biopsy and all this kind of CT scan and blood work and all that kind of stuff, that the cancer's back. So, and I shot a video on Friday letting people know that I was going to have this consultation with the oncologist on Friday. So my sister and I met up after I came out of the sky, she arrived right then, and we got a Motel 6 room, and I met her pup, and Jasper. What a cool Jack Russell Terrier. Really crazy story, right? So she had been looking for a dog. She'd been, talking to me about her getting a dog and everything. And one day I was doing something somewhere, and I was coming out of an auto parts store, and I thought to myself, a Jack Russell Terrier. I wonder if she could get a Jack Russell Terrier, because I think that would be a really cool dog for her to have, right? 2 hours later, she calls me and says, I got a Jack Russell Terrier. We never even talked about Jack Russell Terriers before. I never even thought about it until then, and she got this rescued, So anyway, so we got the motel room, we got some food, we watched some TV, we talked, we hung out, just like we do. We had a really good time, and the next morning we get out of the hotel and we drive back to Reservation Road, thinking we're just going to hang out and talk and watch the wind and see if I can get some airtime. But I gotta tell you, I was a little sore from that friggin' hike up the beach the day before, but not as sore as I thought it was going to be, so that's always good. So once again, while I'm waiting for parking at Reservation Road, I get a phone call, and it's the oncologist department down in UCLA Harbor, and they said they've got a place, they've got a appointment slot for today, the next morning, if I can make it at 10 o'clock, they can squeeze me in. So I said, heck yeah, and gave my sister a big hug, and all right, I smooched the dog, and then I, spent all day yesterday driving back here and made this appointment this morning. So this was the first meeting I've had with this doctor, and I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name. I'm sorry. It's Persian, but it almost sounds Italian, but it's Persian. Really wonderful person. And we jumped right into the conversation. Make a long story shorter, I've got a Medi-Cal, and this HMO wouldn't pay for the proton therapy down in San Diego. I'm cutting out a whole lot of phone calls and back and forths with doctors and stuff and insurance people. But it turns out that there were two other options besides the surgery option. One, of course, is to do what we did the last time, which is radiation and chemo. But another one is to do chemo and immunotherapy. And I didn't know I had him explain to me what immunotherapy was. I was like, well, what are we talking about here? And he's like, well, basically we found a way to get your immune system to identify the existence of the cancer, and we hype your immune system to attack the cancer. I'm like, sign me up, because that's exactly what I was trying to do the first 4 months of the after the initial diagnosis. I was trying to do that with herbs and mushrooms and all these different other protocols, but apparently they've got a drug. I've got the paperwork right here, and there's a pembrolizumab. This is platinum. What is this other stuff? Fluorouracil. I don't know. I don't. It's probably going to show up backwards. Pembrolizumab. Yeah. So they're going to give me some goop with some other goop. They're going to give me 3 goops in a 6-hour infusion over the next 3 weeks apart over the next 3 months. That's the schedule. And they've scheduled it, the first one to be on the 17th. So I'd go in on the 16th and get blood work done. And then we'd start on the 17th. I've also asked that if they tell me that it's hard to get a 6-hour, because it takes so long, it's hard to get that block of time in the infusion department. So I've said, they say this is the earliest date they can do it, but I said if anything shows, if somebody drops out, let me know and I'll be here. Let's expedite this thing as soon as possible. Let's get going. There's two other important things here. So I had this biopsy last week, a week ago, Thursday, and they still have the tissue sample, and there's this thing. He sent a sample of the biopsy to this lab, and it takes 2 weeks to get a result. But if it will generate a score on how efficacious, how effective the immunotherapy might be. And if the score is above a certain, I think it's above 20 or whatever that means, then they know that will show that I'm very likely to take to this immunotherapy really well, and so they'll double down on it. So we won't find out for another 2 weeks if that's the case. But we're not waiting. We're if the infusion appointment opens up before then, I'm on it like a hobo in a ham sandwich. I love that one. I might use it too much, but I just love it. So I'm going to be kind of keeping it local, because I kind of feel like I'm on call. So that's another really good. It's a good thing that I'm got to go up to Monterey, because I probably won't have the time to do that anytime soon. Keeping it local means I probably won't go anywhere that's further than 2 hours away, which, by the way, leaves open the possibility of maybe taking a cruise down to San Diego, to Torrey Pines for a couple of days, and or going up from here to the hot springs before I can't do hot springs anymore. Once we start the infusions, I'll be immunocompromised even more. And I've had COVID tests, so I know that I don't have COVID, and I'm keeping my distance from most people. So there's that. Yeah. So other than that, I feel in general really healthy, and that I feel very confident about the direction the offered proposed therapy regimen is. So like I said, we're talking about a series of infusions of those 3 drugs every 3 weeks, over the next 90 days, the next 3 months, and starting on the 17th, if not sooner. And my next appointment with this oncologist, I believe, is a month from today. The other thing is, I had to explain to him what happened with my radiation oncologist from last time, and I certainly have made a conscious choice not to forego radiation at this time, and which means that we still, if after the next month or so, this thing hasn't had any effect, the treatment hasn't had any effect on it, we still can bring in radiation. But my feeling is, given that this thing is so small, it's a centimeter and a half, as compared to what I had initially, there's 4 lymph nodes right here. 3 of them in the first go round, 3 of them got to be at the worst moment, at the worst part. They were as big as jumbo-sized eggs. And I had a tumor in the back of my mouth that was as big as my thumb. The cisplatin, 11 days after the first infusion, that tumor in the back of my mouth was completely gone. If you didn't know it had been there, you wouldn't have known it was there, had been there. And that was before I started the radiation. So I feel like I'm really, I work well with this cisplatin, and so I feel that, this is the one that's cancerous right now is the 4th one. Like it said, I missed the party, I'm going to have my own, and I feel like it's just an extension of what we were going through before, and I feel like we're on the right track. As I said to the doctor, I understand that they, their trip is they would love to, their first recommendation after surgery was radiation with chemo supporting the radiation, trying to get me as much radiation as possible, and the chemo kind of supports the radiation. And I'm like, not if I can help it. And I feel like we can help doing that right now. So I feel that the radiation, I want to limit my exposure to radiation as much as I possibly can. That's what I said to him. I understand that you all have your protocols and stuff, but my goal is to limit my exposure to radiation as much as possible. So I'm gonna hold that back. I know what it is. I've had it before, so I have no illusions about what that is. And I'm not, when they did it before, it basically killed all the cells between here and the base of my neck. All my taste buds, and not all of them, about 85% of them, and all the hair from here back, right? Well, I don't care. It's not the hair that I care about. Like taste buds. I know somebody that had the same exact thing as me. Went through did the chemo radiation thing 3 years ago. He finished, and he still doesn't have his friggin' taste buds back. And he was given the same exact prescription of radiation. He did the whole thing. He did 7,000 units, and he still doesn't have. He has no sweet, and if I can get rid of this centimeter and a half mass through other means that don't include radiation or surgery, I'm all about that shit. Let's give that a try. I don't mind being the poster boy for new therapies. That's fine. whatever it takes. But and at this point, I think we're on top of it early enough to, if, like I said, in a month and a half, nothing's happening, then we still have the radiation. And in fact, because I curtailed ended the radiation treatments at only 2,400 units, 1/3, little more than a third of what they had initially recommended last spring. I have more radiation than most people would be able to do on their second round, because your body remembers how much radiation you've been exposed to, so you can only be exposed to so much. And this treatment that I'm taking is one of the options that they would give somebody who's already been overexposed to or maxed out their exposure to radiation. So I feel at this point that we're in really good shape. Moving ahead with the immunotherapy and chemo, we're gonna see what happens. We still have our options of of radiation and surgery as a last resort. So, frankly, what they said to me is, last week was, if we do the surgery, we would recommend that you follow it up with chemo and radiation anyway. So I was like, no, let's do that. Let's flip that around the other way. Let's do the chemo, radiation if necessary, and surgery as a last resort. So instead of having to do all three of those, so especially for something so small at this point. So that's what's up. That's the latest. It could be a little hiccup in all this, because I just got a phone call a few minutes ago from the infusion place, and they saying that I'm supposed to have an appointment on the 11th to have a line put in my arm, and I'm like, I don't think that we weren't talking about that. Nobody mentioned anything about that. And that's because initially they were talking about doing an infusion every week, a lesser dosage every week, and I was like, no. Let's do as much as we possibly can with 3 weeks in between. And so that's what we agreed to. But I think he had already put in the order, and I'm hoping, because if I get one of those ports put in my arm, I don't know that I'll be able to fly. I wouldn't fly at that point. So that'd be no flying for like 3 months. That's not happening. If I can help it. For 3 months, are you kidding me? No. We'll have none of that. So stay tuned. We'll see what happens with that. I'll keep you posted, obviously, if I get more information. At this point, the proton therapy in San Diego isn't happening, for the better, apparently, I could sign up for it and do it if I had that kind of money. I don't even know what kind of money that is. I just assumed that it was just a matter of a referral, but apparently there's, this Medi-Cal won't pay for it. So, and last time I checked my bank, there's nothing even close to, just a PET scan. PET scan is like a couple $1,000s, man. That would wipe me out in a heartbeat, and I'd be in debt already, So, so it's a good thing we're doing the immunotherapy and chemo as an option. Thank goodness. We'll try that before we start, because I would really rather do proton therapy than the traditional radiation. And definitely not with the people that I did it with the last time. The crew was cool, but the doctor and I, we were definitely not it was not a good mix. So anyway, bless them, bless everybody that's helping, and thank you to everyone that has donated to my GoFundMe. In the coming weeks, once we start the chemo, I'm probably going to need to get a room for at least, I'm guessing at least a month, because I need direct access to a toilet and a bathtub. So, I'll probably find something like a Motel 6 or something, somewhere cheap. We found a place up there. It was like $50 a night. That's doable. For a couple of weeks, I could do that. And that's about what I was paying when I was living on Venice Beach. Was $50 a night rent. So there's that, and then the van. The van could use some mechanics. It doesn't owe me anything, but they've told me that there's a couple of $1,000s worth of work that needs to happen to this engine in order for it to be sound. I'm not going to tell you, but there's some really interesting things happening. I'm researching with regards to my art career. I'm looking into, I'll tell you straight up, I'm looking into this whole concept of NFTs, non-fungible tokens. And just doing some research on that right now. But there's more to it in terms of like my live streaming channel and my archive of all my paintings, a couple of thousand canvases, and then there's all the digital images and from the movies, and I'm working on episode 13 of the Enoch movie. And every frame of that movie is digital art and could be turned into a fungible, non-fungible token. So stay tuned. More in the future. So let's look at this. Isn't it beautiful? So beautiful. So anyway, I will be signing off now. Today is, I think it's March 1st. Is it March 1st or March 2nd? March 2nd. Tuesday. And 2021. What a ride so far, huh? All right. This is me beaming love at you. Staring into the dark. Alrighty. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. More to come. Not dead yet. Just starting.